License and registration, Harding barked, voice clipped. Jamal felt a flicker of unease. He'd done nothing wrong, yet the hostility bristling from the officer was unmistakable. Still, Jamal held his cool. "May I ask why you pulled me over?" he inquired politely. "Speeding," Harding lied curtly. "Now step out, hands where I can see them." There was an edge to the officer's tone that set warning bells clanging in Jamal's mind. He'd been trained to read situations. In his role as an FBI agent, calmly navigating aggression was second nature. But this time, he chose compliance. For the moment. "How fast did you clock me?" Jamal pressed, his voice steady. Harding wrapped his flashlight against the window again, impatience growing. "Don't get smart with me. Out of the car." Jamal exhaled, recalling the many times he'd guided new recruits through de-escalation. Strange, he thought wryly, to be on the receiving end of unwarranted intimidation. Slowly, he opened the door and stepped onto the dusty roadside. The tension was palpable. Harding's stance spoke volumes. One hand rested near his holster, the other gripping the flashlight, like a weapon. "Let me see some ID." Jamal passed over his license, deliberately withholding his FBI badge for now. He studied the officer's gaze, noticing the flicker of contempt that surfaced when he read Jamal's name. A quiet alarm sounded in Jamal's mind. This wouldn't be a simple stop. "Robert Parker, is it?" Harding smirked, clearly misreading the name. "Funny, I expected something else when I saw you driving this fancy car. Some big-shot drug dealer, maybe?" Jamal forced himself to remain calm, but an unmistakable steel entered his tone. "It's Jamal Parker, and I'd advise you to watch your assumptions, officer." Harding let out a mirthless chuckle. "We'll see about that," he muttered. Little did Harding know this driver was far from powerless, and by morning, the entire police department would be forced to confront the truth. Officer Harding kept a tight circle around Jamal, shining the flashlight over every inch of his tailored suit. The night air was warm, but a chill permeated each word the officer spat. In the distance, the hum of passing cars punctuated the silence between their tense exchanges. "Spread your feet," Harding commanded, gesturing Jamal to place his hands on the hood of the sedan. It gleamed even in the dim light, reflecting the officer's stance and the flicker of suspicion in his eyes. Jamal complied, albeit slowly, measuring each move. As an FBI special agent, he knew how easily a misinterpreted motion could escalate. Harding patted him down with the efficiency of someone who seemed far too eager to find contraband. Yet, he turned up nothing. "You're clean," Harding admitted begrudgingly, stepping back. He circled toward the open driver's door, peering inside. "Now, let's see what you're hiding in this fancy ride." Jamal clenched his jaw at the blatant rummaging. Glove compartment yanked open. Trunk popped. Bags, if any, rifled through. Harding didn't bother hiding his scowl each time he failed to find a single incriminating object. "Been traveling for work?" Harding sneered, eyeing a duffel bag that contained neatly folded suits and files. He rifled through the folders, but the material was innocuous. Official documents bearing the FBI seal, though the top pages were coded in a way that wouldn't mean much to an outsider. "Work, yeah," Jamal answered, voice controlled. "I'm in federal law enforcement." Harding snapped his gaze up. "Federal, huh? Don't insult my intelligence." But when he looked back at the folder, he froze for a heartbeat. The embossed letters FBI were plainly visible. A ripple of confusion flashed across his features, but he recovered quickly, slamming the folder shut. "Is this some kind of joke?" Harding demanded, trying to muster the same bravado. "No joke." Jamal's tone turned icier. "My credentials are right there." He pointed at a black leather badge wallet Harding had tossed aside. Harding's lip curled. "You think that's gonna save you from resisting arrest?" Jamal felt his pulse spike. "What do you mean, resisting arrest? I've done nothing of the sort." Harding's smirk deepened. "Shut your mouth. You'll have plenty of time to explain yourself. Downtown, Officer Harding's squad car screeched to a halt outside the precinct, the neon sign reflecting in ominous flashes across the windshield. Jamal stepped out, hands cuffed behind him, even though he had not resisted. The stink of smoke and stale coffee hung in the air as Harding marched him through the station's double doors. Inside, harsh fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, accentuating the cracks in the old tile floor. A couple of officers glanced up from their desks. Some recognized Harding's signature scowl and quickly returned to their tasks. Others raised eyebrows at the sight of Jamal, clearly perplexed as to why a well-dressed man was being escorted in cuffs. Harding led Jamal to a desk manned by a weary-looking officer named Carlson. "Lock him up," Harding ordered, voice echoing with unwarranted authority. "Possible narcotics, obstruction, resisting arrest." Jamal's temper flared momentarily, but his training prevailed. Raising his voice wouldn't help. Instead, he spoke calmly, requesting my phone call and the presence of a federal liaison. Harding scoffed. "No phone calls until I'm done booking you." He motioned for Carlson to take over. Carlson blinked, looking from Harding to Jamal. We should check any official credentials first, right?" Harding's glare snapped over to him. "I said, lock him up." A hush slid over the desk area. Jamal noticed a few curious stares from other officers. They likely recognized the tension, the potential fiasco brewing. If this was how Harding conducted all his stops, Jamal thought grimly, how many innocent people had been dragged in before? Soon, Jamal found himself in a small interrogation room, cuffs removed but replaced by a sense of cold injustice. Harding stood across the metal table, arms folded, eyes burning with defiance. "Let's see that so-called FBI badge of yours," Harding finally said, voice dripping with skepticism. Jamal reached for his wallet on the table, flipping it open to display his photo ID and shield. It was legitimate. Any properly trained officer would recognize it instantly. Harding remained stone-faced. "So, you got a fancy fake made. Must have cost a fortune. That won't save you." Jamal leaned forward, temper just barely contained. "You have no idea what you're getting into, officer." Minutes ticked by in charged silence. Harding tapped his foot, working out his next move. Jamal sat straight-backed in the uncomfortable metal chair, unwavering even under the overhead glare. "Talk," Harding commanded again, as if spitting the word might force a confession. "Who are you working for?" Jamal simply raised an eyebrow. "I already told you, I'm FBI, a supervisory special agent investigating a corruption ring in this city." Harding barked a laugh, but there was a slight waver in it. "Corruption ring? And you're in my station? That's rich." Before Jamal could respond, the door swung open. An older, stern-faced officer in a crisp uniform, Lieutenant Ramirez, stepped in. He glanced at Jamal, then at Harding. "What's going on here? I was alerted to a possible high-profile arrest." Harding shrugged, trying to look nonchalant. "Caught this one speeding, acting suspicious. Found him with a phony FBI badge." He jerked his head at Jamal's ID on the table. Ramirez picked up the badge wallet, eyes narrowing as he studied the federal emblem. He flicked to the ID photo, then to Jamal's face. Slowly, he set the wallet down. "Harding, this is a real ID." Harding's face twitched. "What are you talking about?" Ramirez exhaled. "Special Agent Parker is a recognized name with the Bureau. He's been coordinating efforts with the mayor's office. We've had memos about a joint operation for weeks." A flicker of alarm crossed Harding's expression. "That can't be. He was driving a fancy car, acting all—" Jamal cut in, voice steady. "I was acting, how exactly?" Harding's jaw worked, but no words emerged. Ramirez's voice went colder. "Did you even check the database before bringing him in, Harding?" A bead of sweat trickled down Harding's temple. Jamal watched him squirm, and a surge of righteous anger coiled in his chest. Here was an officer who weaponized authority, ignoring protocol and decency. "We need to let him go," Ramirez said quietly, turning his attention to Jamal. "Agent Parker, on behalf of this department, I apologize. This shouldn't have happened." Harding looked like he wanted to protest, but the harsh reality was crashing down. He'd humiliated a federal agent with no cause, and the consequences would be far-reaching. Outside the interrogation room, word spread swiftly through the station's corridors. A racist cop had just manhandled and arrested an FBI agent without cause. Whispers of shock mingled with knowing glances. Harding had a track record of abrasive stops, but he'd never tangled with someone so high-profile. Jamal stepped into the hallway, free of cuffs but weighed down by frustration. Ramirez stood at his side, offering quiet support. A cluster of officers parted to let them pass, some gawking in disbelief, others darting sympathetic looks that spoke volumes. "Agent Parker," one young officer ventured, stepping forward. "I'm sorry about all this. If there's anything—" Jamal offered a tense nod, not unkind, but clearly still rankled. "Just remember, nobody should be treated like this," he said, and the young officer stood aside. As they moved, Harding trailed behind, looking as though he wanted to slink into a corner. Ramirez, noticing the tension, ushered him into a side office. Jamal considered whether to follow, but decided to give them a moment. He had his own phone call to make, to his bureau contact. Within minutes, the station's main doors swung wide. Agents from a nearby FBI field office stormed in, crisp suits, setting a stark contrast against the scuffed police floors. Leading them was Assistant Director Julia Reyes. Her gaze swept the station until it landed on Jamal, and she hurried over. "Agent Parker, are you all right?" she asked, voice brimming with concern and annoyance. Jamal nodded, reining in, the surge of relief. "I'm fine, Director. The bigger issue is this department's disregard for procedure and potential racial bias." Assistant Director Reyes nodded solemnly, then cast a razor-sharp glance toward the side office where Harding had disappeared. "We've launched an internal review. I spoke to the police chief en route. He's expecting us." The station's mood curdled, dread seeping into every corner. Harding emerged from the office, shoulders stiff, face drained of color. The eyes of his colleagues bore into him, some with condemnation, others with a resigned acceptance that his actions had finally caught up to him. "Harding," Reyes said evenly, stepping forward. "We have some questions." Jamal watched from a short distance, arms folded. Harding's world was about to come crashing down. An hour later, a press conference assembled on the station's steps. Journalists, local TV crews, and curious onlookers crowded around. Word had spread. A black federal agent had been unlawfully detained by a local officer. Now, the city demanded accountability. Agent Jamal Parker stood before the microphones, flanked by Assistant Director Reyes and the newly arrived Police Chief Larson. Flashes sparked in the early morning light, capturing Jamal's solemn expression. Chief Larson cleared his throat. "We sincerely apologize to Special Agent Parker for his wrongful detention. I've placed Officer Harding on immediate suspension, pending a full investigation into potential misconduct." Harding, nowhere in sight, was holed up inside, likely facing a maelstrom of departmental questioning. Jamal glanced out at the sea of faces, heart pounding with a complex blend of anger, relief, and determination. "These incidents reflect a larger issue," Jamal began, voice resonating with quiet authority. "No one, federal agent or civilian, should fear being targeted by those sworn to protect us. This is about more than what happened to me. It's about ensuring that every traffic stop, every neighborhood patrol, is handled with professionalism and respect." A stir rippled through the crowd. Reporters jostled mics forward. "How do you feel, knowing a fellow law enforcement officer profiled and humiliated you?" someone shouted. Jamal locked eyes with the reporter. It's infuriating, but it's also a clarion call. We must stand together against abuse of power. Accountability can't be optional. Assistant Director Reyes stepped up next, detailing how the FBI would collaborate with the city to train officers in de-escalation and anti-bias protocols. The gravity of the moment deepened. This wasn't just about Harding, it was about reform. When the question subsided, Jamal concluded, "I'm grateful this ended peacefully for me, but for many, it doesn't. We have a responsibility to change that." If Jamal's story resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments about where you're watching from and what reforms you believe are urgently needed. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you stand for equality and justice. Your voice matters. Let's commit to making our community safer and more just for everyone.